Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our live client case study for the month of September. I don't even know how we got to September, but I am so excited that we're here. You know that we do these fairly regularly. We just did one of these last month as well. And we have so many of these live client case studies that we do on this Authority Accelerator Reviews channel. And if you're watching elsewhere, be sure to leave a comment and say hello. Hello to everybody who's jumping on and tuning in right now. Would love to know where you are watching from. And also, can you hear me? Can you see me okay? Just give me a yes in the comments if you can. That would be wonderful. I'm so thrilled to be here today to tell this story. It is nothing short of incredible. To be honest, it is going to blow your mind, this story. The details, the specifics of the journey of the person that I'm bringing on today is really, truly magical and incredible and will leave you feeling so inspired. Hello in Tallinn, Connecticut. Nice to see you here. Hi, Amanda. Nice to have you here as well. We have folks from Utah tuning in. Hi, Jaylene from my team. Hi, Sarah Smith, who's part of our Authority Accelerator program. Before we dig in, who am I? First and foremost, you're like, who is this lady? If you're not familiar with me, my name is Sunny Leonarduzzi, and I'm the founder of the Authority Accelerator, which is a program that I created to help people package their expertise and their skill set and turn it into a highly scalable and highly impactful online education business. So if you are here because you have a skill set or an expertise that you want to take and spread globally to even more people for more impact, then you're in the right place. So I am going to share a few more details about that throughout the live today, but let's get into the story of our guest today. Because like I said, it's nothing short of amazing and I can barely do it justice. So I do want to bring him on as soon as possible. And if you're tuning in, please be sure to give this a like, be sure to share it with somebody who needs to hear it. The more engagement, the better, the more people we can reach with this phenomenal journey and story. So if you've ever been in a situation where you've been so close to giving up, you are ready to pretty much sell whatever you could just to get by, then you're going to really relate to this story. And if anyone has ever been in that position before, you can say me in the chat. And that's exactly where Denver found himself not too long ago, actually. So what happened next is, like I said, it's nothing short of incredible. His story took a major turn. He went from almost selling his last possession to making over $100,000 a month on repeat. You did not hear that wrong. That is not a typo. That is correct. What's a typo when you say it on here? You did not mishear me. That's where Denver found himself. And like I said, that was not that long ago. After 8 years of running a nonprofit marriage coaching business, Denver decided to go for profit. But instead of success, he found himself on the brink of a financial collapse. He had credit cards that were maxed out. He even considered selling his last possessions to keep the lights on. But then something really incredible happened. He found us, he found the Authority Accelerator program, and within just 4 months, his fortunes changed dramatically. He pre-sold his program to generate over $40,000 before his program had actually officially been created or launched. And fast forward to today, and he's pulling in over $100,000 every single month. But more than that, he is changing lives truly and saving marriages. And that is really why we're here today. It is the incredible impact that he's been able to have and being able to turn his purpose into sustainable profit. Now, before we bring Denver on in just a second here, I did want to mention, hi, Lamika. I did want to mention that if you are at a place where you're like, I know I have this skill set, I know I have this expertise, this experience that I can share with the world, and I want to create an online education business around it. If you comment with course, we're doing something for the first time ever, where you can actually book a free course consultation call with a member of our team. It's not a sales call. It's literally just to find out how we can best support you. You'll be able to speak to Steve from my team, and I'm going to drop the link in the chat for you here. So without further ado, let's bring man of the hour on. Let's bring Denver on. Denver, I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Sunny. Good to be here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining us and taking the time to tell your story today. So I want to really start back at the beginning. It's been a windy road for you, for sure. So I want just to touch, as it is for most people. I want you to tell me about your journey as an entrepreneur.
Well, my journey as an entrepreneur, I've always been an entrepreneur for probably like the first 23 years of my life. I ran call centers selling insurance. And for a lot of those years, I was very passionate about it. But fast forward into my life, I went through a divorce and ended up getting married to a beautiful woman that we've now been married quite a bit over a decade. And when we met, both of our hearts burned for marriage and family restoration because what we had been through was something that was kind of hard, difficult on us. And so from the get-go, it was one of the things that bonded us when we first met, when we entered our marriage. And so pretty much within a few months into the marriage, we were running things properly in a blended family. We're like the Brady Bunch. We had 6 kids. And we started serving the community by helping people that were in hiccup in their marriage make sure that they stayed on point. And so we did that for about 8 years as a nonprofit. We were still running insurance offices across the United States and, having really good financial results with that. It was 6 figures a month in that. And so it was a successful business, but we were working for money. I was trading my time for money. I was burnt out. I was exhausted. The industry changed. There was more government regulations, and I wasn't able to serve my clients the way that fulfilled me anymore. And I just there's got to be something more. And while I had a passion for what we were doing nonprofit for free, I still had to keep the electric on, keep the lights paid and stuff like that. And so I never saw a path, or honestly, I don't think I ever had a desire to make that a for-profit business. Our dream actually was, we had a goal board that we would accumulate enough wealth from the insurance industry that one day we would take this nonprofit and serve people all over the world with this nonprofit, because I just never saw something like that turned into a for-profit business. I had never experienced that. I had limited exposure in that arena. But fast forward in a few years into me getting diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer and being told by doctors, I actually had 3 doctors say, we're going to put you on hospice. Like you're going to die. And I searched the world, I had a little world journey there and found some physicians that said, no, we can give you a second chance at life and maybe even save your voice. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we did that. And, but during the tenure of going through cancer treatment, it was like a 2-year journey. I had to shut down my business. I wasn't able to work. So everything went to like hell in a handbasket, so to speak. I lost a lot of my wealth. It was a financial devastating journey. In addition to, I used to be a bodybuilder and I lost all of my weight. I went from 220 pounds of muscle down to 87 pounds of nothingness.
Wow.
And here's something else. My wife and I were marriage coaches. And now I'm finding that I'm in my second marriage, which is beautiful up until this point, but cancer stole my marriage. There was no intimacy. We had no date nights. And I almost went into a second divorce. And I figured out what to do to reattract my wife back, to be worthy of being called her husband. And so one of the things that was missing when we were doing marriage restoration together was we were doing couples. But this was new for me. I had never had an individual come and say, my spouse wants out. And I'm faced smack head on with that experience. I'm like, how do I do this? And so I studied that, figured out how to make it happen. Our marriage got restored. And of course, we're more passionate from that. But here I am, I'm still not working. I was still down. And funny enough, when I was in New York getting cancer treatment, I remember I'm sitting in front of the United Nations and I heard an audible voice that I call God. And I heard this voice say, you're done working for money, which at the time made no sense for me because I wasn't thinking about money or work. I'm walking from the radiation hospital to the chemo hospital. I'm like, I'm not thinking about any of that. I'm just trying to save my life. And I really didn't understand what that meant until I get a PET scan and the doctor says, you're cancer free. We got the cancer. You're good to go. I'm like, that's amazing. But then I'm faced with, when I get a clearance to go back to work, I'm like, I don't want to go back running call centers. I don't want to go back to 100-hour weeks anymore. This took a toll on my health. I now have my 7th grandchild. I don't want to miss the connection with my children and my grandchildren. And yes, I did become a grandfather in my 30s. So I was really young when that happened. But fast forward into that, I'm talking about this with my wife and I'm like, why don't we try to do something else? And so that kept resonating in the back of my mind. You're done working for money. And I'm like, what does that even mean? So I got out a pen and paper and I wrote down everything I wanted for my life. And I still wanted to build wealth. I have 6 kids and 7 grandchildren. That was kind of like a no-brainer. That was, whether I wanted to do that or not, that had to happen. And so I knew that was something that was important to me, but I had something different that had not been as important to me my whole life. I think I always wanted it, but I suppressed it because I didn't think I could have both. And that was connection with the people I love. Like I never had great connection with my parents as they were aging and stuff because I was always working. When my younger children were babies. They didn't even know who I was because I was always working. My first public job, I worked at the phone company at Verizon, and I got an email from the president of the company at 2 years and 2 months saying thank you for your 5 years of service because they vested you on 40 hours work.
Wow.
And so that's just I always enjoyed working, but I'm at a different stage in my life now where I'm like, I also want that connection with my children and my grandchildren. That's equally importantly, how do I have both? And I started meditating on that, praying on that, reading scripture on that. And I knew that I was supposed to go start this company as a for-profit company. And I did not understand that. And so I'm like, well, how do you do that? I literally went on YouTube. I recorded all of these videos. I worked my ass off. I did 30 videos in 30 days. And then we kept posting after that. And guess what? It went nowhere. It went nowhere. And so I finally get with God and I was like, God, if I'm supposed to do this, this is the opposite of not working for money. I am working my rear end off and there's no money. Like, I don't know what to do here. And I'm not even gonna joke with you. So it got to the point that I'm like, you've got to give me a sign if you want me to keep doing this. And lo and behold, I'm on YouTube, and you are the next video that pops up. And I just became obsessed with the videos. And so we reached out to you guys, and I liked what I heard on the strategy session call that you guys did with us, explained, gave me some insight on why what I was doing on YouTube wasn't working, and that you don't actually have to have a YouTube to put some cash in the bank, because I was like, literally, I was days away from having to shut it all down. Like I got with my wife and my son because I had maxed out my credit cards. Like, the ship had come to the port and we had to get off of it. And I didn't have the money to pay my bills one more month. And so, but what we were going to do is first we were going to sell our golf cart, and then we were going to sell our car. Like, we had a game plan. Like,
Right.
we weren't going to give up on it. And I'm like, okay, we're not in this for the money, not just for the money. I still want to be able to pay my electricity bill. And let me tell you something else. I had one of our really good friends come over to our house the other day. And she was like, it's cold in here. She's like, I thought you guys never ran the air conditioner. We're like, no, we haven't ran the air conditioner until a few months ago. Now we're on the path to being millionaires. But a few months ago, we were about to sell our golf cart.
Wow.
Now we turn our AC on and enjoy cold air.
Wow.
It was so funny. My wife and I, we were like both laughing so hard about it because it was ludicrous for us to think 3 months ago, like several months ago or whatever, we weren't even running our air conditioner because we couldn't afford the electricity. We knew we were going to have to sell something to pay the bill.
Wow.
But I prayed about it, and literally you come up in the algorithm, and I'm like, okay. And I just became obsessed with watching those videos. I think I watched like 30 hours of your videos in 30 hours. And so we booked a call with you, and immediately I took what you had taught on how do you actually build a profitable business with no YouTube, no Facebook, like none of that. Like, I had a YouTube, but it was producing zero fruit. I wasn't helping any clients, and we were about to start selling our belongings, like what you said. And so I immediately did that, and it worked. Like, right off of the bat, we put $48,000 in cash in just a few weeks. And while that's not a great amount of money, it was more than we had made in the last 18 months combined, trying to figure out how to turn this into a profitable business. And it's so funny. We hadn't really had any breathing room in almost honestly about 3.5 years, because we had the cancer journey and then we were broke coming out of that. So we put that for $50,000 in the bank, and my wife and I booked a trip to Venice just to give us a taste of it, of what it's like to actually be able to live and go to a restaurant for the first time in like a year and have a nice meal. And we only did that for a few days and then got back to work. But it felt really good to get a taste of what the future could hold. So that first group of clients, we saw massive results. I told you I had been doing it for 8 years as a nonprofit.
Let me actually dig into that. So first of all, did I not tell you this is an incredible story? This is an incredible full story. Okay, so let's dig into that because I do want to talk about how you were able to create client results in much less time and with much more efficiency. Because as all of you watching here know, if you've been on these before, if you've watched anything I've ever done, the number one asset in your business is client results. That is the thing that allows you to stand the test of time. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about how Denver turned 96 subscribers on YouTube and took old videos and repurposed them and generated $100,000 in 30 days. And then we're going to talk about how things have actually gotten much more simple as he scaled to those consistent, six-figure months. So this all sounds wild, I'm aware, but it's all true. and I've gotten a front row seat to Denver's journey, and that's why I wanted to share the story with you today. So like I said, give this a like, share it out. Be sure to rewatch it because there's going to be so much gold that we're going to talk about today. So first and foremost, let me just share with people what you do. So you help men who are facing unwanted divorce or separation save their marriage or long-term relationship before it ends forever. And something that you touched on earlier is a big facet to that, which is like really they are healing the relationship with themselves first to be able to show up in a great way for their marriage, their family, etc. So I want to know first and foremost, before we even dig into creating amazing client results, I know you touched on this, but where did the drive for you come from to do this for 8 years for free and now turn it into a business? Because you have to love this, obviously. Where did that come from?
I'll tell you, the drive for both myself and my wife both, the drive to do this for free, I would still do it for free. And here's the reason. Even though I'm not going to go back and turn it into a nonprofit again, but the drive came from the pain that I personally went through in an unwanted divorce with my first marriage. So that's where the drive came from. But to take it a step further, the drive really accelerated to the point that I could do this so long, and basically to the point that I literally ended up in the hospital a couple of times in exhaustion doing this in that capacity because I was still running a full-time business to pay the bills, was watching what that did to my kids going through a broken home. And when I met my wife and her heart burned for that and she supported the same mission that I did, we kind of made a vow to each other that anybody that we could keep their children from going through like the nightmare that our children went through, or the despair or the feelings of hopelessness and everything that comes with that. Like divorce is the price that you keep on paying, especially if you have children with somebody. You pay that until the day you die. I'm still paying the price from that, from a first marriage that failed. And so looking at my own leadership and taking responsibility, anytime somebody goes through that, we always want to point the other finger, like it was their fault. Oh, they're a bad person. And there may always be some truth to that. But at the end of the day, what did I do to contribute to that? And that just takes a different type of leadership to give yourself grace enough to acknowledge that. But long story short, to look at what that cost my children, and it's a price that they're still paying. And now my grandchildren are bearing the fruit, or maybe even eating or tasting a little bit of that bad fruit because their parents experienced it. And so I just kind of made a vow, the more people that I can help avoid that pain or figure out how to snap out of it and get their life back on track. Because here's the thing. If you can figure out how to restore your marriage, if you're in a failed marriage, that shows a failure in leadership more often than not. It shows that you have pride that you don't see about yourself. And what's so encouraging to me as a business coach for many years, teaching people how to be good at sales and stuff like that, was watching as people's marriage get restored. And I'm watching my current clients' testimonials where they're saying, wow, not only did this save my marriage, but this changed the legacy of my children's life, my grandchildren's life. And because of the teaching and the way that I teach them to restore their marriage, how to build intimacy in every relationship of your life, whether it's employee, employer, you're the business owner, or you work at the business, or even with your parents or in-laws or whatever, literally 10xing all of those relationships because you understand how to see people, you understand how to hear people, and it gets rid of pride and selfishness. And it really, here's something I'm getting feedback from our clients. When their marriages are restored, the next level is they become entrepreneurs because it gives them a vision that, wow, all of these things that Denver didn't think was possible. Denver didn't think that, okay, I don't have to, if I want to have wealth, I have to trade my time for that. part of the leadership program of actually restoring the marriage is teaching them that that's not true, that
Mm-hmm.
that's stories that you've told yourself your whole life. Where else is that showing up in your life besides just your marriage? And the bigger question is, what is it costing you? How do
Yeah.
we let go of the stories and 10x, not just your marriage, but every single area of your life? So I'm getting feedback from my clients. Not only is the marriage getting restored, their incomes are doubling as a result of the
I
leadership that
love
they're
it.
exhibiting. Yeah, it's a beautiful
I love
thing.
it. It's that ripple effect. And we talk about that all the time. It's like all of our clients are coming to us because they want to build these thriving online education businesses. But having done this for so long, we've worked with almost 4,000 people to date. We've seen people, pay off mortgages, retire spouses, save marriages. Like it's a ripple effect across the board of like when you take ownership and leadership in one aspect of your life, it is inevitably going to show up everywhere else. And that's why I said, like, you really are changing lives and saving lives. And that's an incredible thing through the vehicle of your own story. And I always say, like, pain is power. You've obviously gone through a lot. You went through a divorce that you would not wish upon anybody, but
Yeah.
it's turned into ultimately what you're able to teach others, which is really incredible. So let's dig into this because I know there's going to be some question marks around, you went from nonprofit to for profit.
Yeah.
And what happened was really interesting and not surprising to me, but I think surprising to others, which is you started creating these incredible client results in a
Yeah.
lot less time. So, on average, with your nonprofit version of this, how long was it taking your clients to sort of see the results of getting their marriages back on track?
7 months.
Wow.
That was the average, 7 months, seven to
Okay.
10 months, but it averaged around 7 months. I don't think we ever had anybody do it less than 7 months. So it was like averaging 8 months.
Okay. And so, what's been the difference now that you actually are for profit? What are you seeing?
Well, I told you we had really good results with the first clients that we had done for so long. But I think what the difference was is I had clients that were resistant. They didn't want to take the coaching. They wouldn't listen. They would use me as a crutch to not take the coaching. Like, well, if this isn't working, it must be the coaching. It must be Denver,
Mm,
what he's telling me to do. And so what really changed when I turned this into a for-profit business, and this was something I didn't understand prior to like actually coming into the Authority Accelerator program. Like I tried to implement some of this from watching your YouTube videos, but now I understand that your YouTube videos, you can't bring a transformation with somebody on a YouTube video, but it's great information. But if you're really wanting to have a transformation, you got to dig deep and go all in and do it consistently in all the ways that work. So what I did was I learned in the Authority Accelerator program to dig deep and go consistent. And then I transferred that same framework and how I ran the teaching with my clients. And so I think one of the biggest paradigm shifts for me was you taught me in the beginning how to find my ideal client avatar. So people that I were helping in the past, yeah, I could help them with it. And we did have good results, but it took 7 months. So I'm like, why did it take 7 months? And I realized why it took 7 months when I'm reaching out, looking for my ideal client avatar. Who is it that they're at a zero state where they want to go to the hero state where I can so relate, where I am super qualified in that area because I personally have been in their exact shoes and I have navigated the waters to go exactly where they wanted to go. And by you teaching me a framework of how to actually accomplish finding that ideal client avatar, the first group of men that I brought in when I made this as a for-profit, it was just a beautiful thing. No one used me as a crutch for holding back. And we, instead of going 7 months restoration, we were at 7 weeks. So a lot of that, number one, is you taught me how to actually find the ideal client. So that
mhm.
was beneficial. The other part of it is there's just something to be said for when somebody has financial skin in the game. They're going to place more value on the coaching. They're going to place more value on the actual program, go through the modules, show up for the calls, and more importantly, actually take the coaching instead of showing up to gripe about, oh, okay, that doesn't work, or using excuses. So I think just a lot of different things, but skin in the game, being taught a framework for me of how to find the client, and then taking the framework that I use to find the client, and then the other framework that you teach. How do you put the content in order so they're not using you as a crutch, so that it actually gives them the fastest way from the zero state to the hero
That's
state? I literally copied your framework and it works.
amazing. That's what
Yeah.
I'm there for. I love what you said there. And I say this often when I'm talking about the difference between a free piece of content and a paid
Yeah.
program. Um, you know, YouTube, like you said, it's great for information, but the real transformation what happens when you have that skin in the game, when you made the investment mentally, financially, emotionally, spiritually, and you're actually
Yeah.
doing the work. And so I did just want to mention again to everybody here, if this is something where you're like, I think I can do this, this is so inspiring to me, but you just have no idea how to start or where to go. But you have a skill set or an expertise, you can go to sunnyleonarduzzi.com/learn more. It's not a sales call. It's literally just there so that Steve from our team can really learn about what you're going through and where you're at with your course concept or existing course, if you have one, so we can help guide you with the best next steps. So you can go to sunnyleonarduzzi.com/learn more. I'll drop the link again into the chat. And let's dig into that was so helpful to hear, because I think a lot of people are like, I'll just do it for free because I feel bad charging. But at the end of the day, you're almost doing a disservice to the client and to yourself when you aren't actually holding them accountable to investing, like I said, not just financially, but emotionally, mentally, their time to do that work and get the result that they're after. So let's go to the real juicy stuff. So you turned 96 subscribers on YouTube into $100,000 in 1 month with old videos. Please.
I'm happy to talk about that, but I want to backpedal for just a second.
Sure.
So you just talked about the call, like the strategy session call with Steve. Okay.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to point out, I really wasn't clear on the vision, on a path. I honestly didn't even know how I wanted this business to look until I got on that phone call. I got so much clarity about where I actually wanted to go and what was possible. And it didn't really happen until that phone call. Like I had a dream in my spirit, like in my soul, I could feel it, but I didn't actually understand what the dream was, like what I actually wanted to create until I did that strategy session call with one of the strategy specialists that you have.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. That means a lot.
That was the game changer. But so let's fast forward to the 96 subscribers. Okay. So this was crazy for me. Okay. So I did, so just before I was able to get that first group of clients to put right at $50,000 with no YouTube, no social media. What I didn't say was I did have a YouTube, but it sucked. And so let me explain it. I had a YouTube channel with we did 30 videos in 30 days. I worked my ass off. It was really, I thought at the time it was good content, but it was just missing something. It never converted. It never took off. No video ever went viral. And I basically didn't have any subscribers. And I started getting a lot of subscribers, but they weren't my ideal client avatar. Like it wasn't anybody that I was really interested in serving or that I felt like I would get results with. And nobody booked a call with me. So as I'm working with the first group of clients that I brought on, so I had some cushion room where I had a minute to figure that out. So as my clients started getting their marriage restored in the for-profit, the first group that we brought on, the 50 clients, I went over to my YouTube channel and I had only posted like 5 videos with the new framework. And here's how I did that. I took the videos that I had recorded 1 year ago that had 13 views. And I had my son, who at the time was 16, he's now 17. He's my video editor. So he's a 1099 entrepreneur. So he's running his own little business within a business. And I showed him the framework that you teach of how do you actually convert and find and get the algorithm to find your ideal client avatar. So he's editing those old videos that I recorded a year ago. Mm-hmm. Well, and so I'm looking at the subscribers. And what I didn't tell you was I had those videos linked to a video sales letter where they could then book a call with me to enroll. But for like 2 or 3 months, nobody was enrolling. And before we brought cash in the door, I couldn't afford to pay the $96 anymore in my mind. Like I had it on a credit card that was maxed out. And when it said declined, I just let that go. I'm like, well, nobody's booking anyway. That's $96. And so we just let it go. But what was so funny, I think, is it was $96. And I remember when I looked at my subscriber count, and when it said 96 subscribers, it made me remember, oh, I stopped paying for the video sales letter. That was $96. And now I'm at 96 subscribers. And I kind of thought in the back of my mind, well, now I have money because I just brought in $50,000. So maybe I should pay the $96 but I'll tell you, I literally had no expectation. I'm thinking, when I thought YouTube, I'm like, okay, well, Mr. Beast, and here I am with 96 subscribers. I'm like, is it? I'm like, well, you know what? If I don't turn this on, when I have 960,000, I might forget to do it. So I can afford to pay the $96. I'll go ahead and turn it back on. Okay. As soon as I turned it back on, I mean, when I say as soon as I turned it back on, it was at the end of the month. There was 4 days left in the month. So in that month, we brought in $10,000 in revenue in 4 days. The next 30 days, I'm sorry, not in revenue, in cash. The next 30 days, I brought in cash $102,900 in cash. The revenue was higher because we had some people on payment plans. That was with 96 subscribers. Let me tell you what happened the next 4 weeks. The next 4 weeks, we got up to a whopping 132 subscribers. With 132 subscribers, we put 160,000 in revenue with cash collected at 145 or 154,000. That was my second month with YouTube converting. So here's what happened. Following the framework that you teach on YouTube, 100% of my subscribers are all my ideal client avatars. Like, they are all where I was. They went to where I went. They want to go where I went. And so every single strategy session call, they would literally say the same story that I'm telling you. Like, I just felt like the spiritual calling. Like, I felt like you were in my head. And I'm like, yeah, because I was in your head, because my head used to be yours. And Sonny actually taught me a framework on how to actually make it about the person watching the video instead of me, which I had really good intentions and I worked really hard, but I didn't have the framework that you teach, and it just didn't work. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, like, my wife and I were laughing about that. We're like, okay, the first two days, like, more than way coupled the investment that we did with you to come into the program. Like, it was just like a no-brainer joke. We were looking back on that. Like, our biggest expense today, after you guys leading me into this, like, our biggest expense that's actually an asset, I think now, is understanding that any area of my life after meeting you, if I feel like that I'm not on the level where I want to go, I hire a coach for it. Yeah. I now have a personal trainer that's 5 days a week. I was having muscle spasms in my back that was giving me breathing issues. I literally have a massage therapist that comes to my house 5 days a week now, because I'm like, no more excuses in any area of my life. I'm not holding back, because this is what I teach. I teach my clients to let go of the stories that are just costing you in this area and probably every other area of your life. And because even the best reason in the world is still just an excuse, as my grandson now paraphrases me repeating that over. And I was complaining about something the other day, and he was like, he calls me Big Daddy. He said, "Hey, Big Daddy." He said, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" He said, "Even he's like, he said, even the best excuse or even the best reason in the world is still just an excuse." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I might bring you on as a coach, because that's what."
That's incredible. Talking about legacy. That's incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my gosh. Definitely. That's amazing. I just want to hone in on the fact that, like, there is a method to making this work. And what you said is so true. I mean, Rose said, this is so relatable, because how many people are on YouTube and they are just posting content? They're working. And what you said at the beginning, I harp on this all the time. You're like, well, this is the opposite of not trading time for money. Now I'm just making a ton of videos and I'm not seeing any return from it. So you're still working so hard. How many people are on this platform making content and they're not getting anything out of it, and they're not able to affect people at a deeper level? And that's why this model works so well and it's so impactful. And so the fact that you're able to, make sure that each of those subscribers is an ideal client, what a beautiful way to start the channel and build the channel, because it's so much better to have a small audience of ideal clients than a big, broad audience of people who just don't care. So you're getting a lot of amazing feedback in the comments. So thank you to everybody who's saying that. Sarah, Sonia, Chris, it's awesome to see. I do want to go on, because that's incredible. Like 100K, 30 days, 96 subscribers, and it just kept going up from there. The last thing I did want to touch on is I think people think about building a business and growing a business as being chaotic. And you really have a unique perspective on this because you grew a very different business prior to having an
Yeah.
online education business, an insurance call center.
Yeah.
And the price of that very intimately with having a health journey and
Yeah.
problem that you had to face in cancer, stage 4 cancer, nevertheless. So
Yeah.
I would love, I would love for you to touch on the simplicity in scaling and where you are now and how this business is different, and how it complements your life and doesn't complicate your life.
Well, the simplicity is game changer. So I can tell you, like my whole life, I've always made six figures, but what's different is I'm not doing 80 hours a week anymore. I don't have to. I will tell you this. Let me just give you an idea of the simplicity. Don't Your team probably got frustrated booking this call with me because I literally do not ever check email, nor do I have any desire to, nor will I ever, unless someone calls me. So Nicole actually had to call me and say, Denver, we see an email. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm so sorry. I have a vow that I no longer check email. It's not something I want in my life anymore. I don't need to. So I'm now running a 7-figure business, and I have my son is one employee.
Like 17 years old, I think you said 17 years old,
and,
yeah.
and he's 17 years old. And I have one other employee that I recently hired, which was a coach to help me with my social media. And that's it. My life is just simple. Like I don't know that we won't do multiple 7 figures this year. And I can totally see scaling it just a little bit, like a couple of things that we're working on right now to quite frankly take it to 8 figures. And my wife and I were talking about this the other day, where I told you like I was in New York and I heard like what I believe was God saying, you're done working for money. And we were talking about that even just the other day. I'm like, where we're at today, where I don't work for money anymore. Matter of fact, I don't even work. In the beginning, I put quite a bit of hours in it as I was building the course. Obviously,
Yeah.
that was something I had an opportunity to do. I wanted to make sure that it was world class for the clients, and of course, we're always going to continue perfecting that. But literally, I could run this entire company in a 10-hour work week now, and I'm on the way to 7 figures with 2 employees. That's a pleasure to work with.
Yeah.
Like how much more, and I don't do emails. So how much more simple could you get than that? And my clients are having results that are next level. And
Mm.
so just the freedom that I have, and let me tell you even this, okay, while this was never about the money for me, still wealth building was something that was important to me because I have such a big family and I want to make sure that they're protected. And just the thought process that I can still show up for my clients 100% of the time. But if I want to jump on a plane and go to Paris or go to, wherever, Disney World, or get on a cruise or whatever with my grandkids, like we were looking at our Google Sheets doc where we're putting all of our flights. We have 23 flights booked in the course of like the next 3 months. And that's like I'm giving life experiences to my grandchildren,
Yeah.
and I'm not doing that at the expense of my client, because this gives me the freedom to work from anywhere in the world. And I'm still building, not only am I building a legacy business where we're positioning it, like I've got it set up today that if I were to pass away, this business will continue once I hit the grave. Like that was one of the first things that was important to me because I didn't want to leave clients, past, present, or future, in the trenches. So we have that set up with the framework that you teach. It teaches you how to build an exit strategy. Really, I don't have any plans of exiting this, but if I were to exit involuntarily, like the creator called me home, then there's a plan, a contingency, so it never misses a beat. It keeps serving the community. It keeps building wealth. But as long as I'm actively involved in it, I still have the freedom. And we were talking about this the other day too. We were looking at buying like another car because
Yeah.
I had grandchild number 7, and
Congratulations.
yeah. So my wife is like, okay, I want to Escalade because I need room for all the car seats, and she wants a nicer SUV. And a few months ago, number one, Escalade wasn't an option. But fast forward back to when I was still working for money, like a few years ago before cancer, we would have had to go and apply for a car loan and did the payments for like all these months. Now we have the freedom to write a check for a new Escalade if we want to.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, since our family has grown so much more, we've outgrown one of our homes that we have back in the States. I live in Puerto Rico, but my kids, for the most part, I have one kid here, but the rest of my kids are back in Arkansas. And we're like, okay, we've outgrown the dining room there. Like, we need a bigger home. And so we're looking at this beautiful castle that we have interest in. And I'm like, holy crap, we literally could, if we wanted to, we could write a check for a house, for an estate. And so just that level of freedom, even though it never was just about the money, because like I said, we did this for 8 years
For free.
without
Yeah.
charging anybody a penny. But now looking back on that, I actually see that I did all of those people a disservice. How much pain did they endure for 7 months? How much value would it have been to them financially if we could have accelerated that into 7 weeks and 7 months? So looking back, I thought I was like, oh, I'm this good little, person with walking in my integrity, but doing something for the community. And instead, what I was doing was I was enabling them to lose and not taking action faster, because I didn't have the framework that you teach, because I didn't see the vision or the path to make those results happen in that speed. And now looking back on it, it's what value am I bringing to the client? And that's how we price the program. I've raised the price 2 times since I started. And you know what? I think that we're still significantly under price. So we are absolutely over delivering on the investment.
Yes. And I mean, that's a better place to be for sure. But,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think one thing I just want to really hone in on there is the legacy. And I know
Yeah.
people probably get sick of me hearing me say this, but we teach our clients to build legacy businesses. And what that means is it's legacy across the board. So your program can create an impact without your constant involvement, without your involvement at all. That's how we teach you to create your curriculum. That's the purpose of having an online education business, is that it can impact people without having to rely on you. So your impact can be limitless. And then legacy clients, you only want to work with those ideal clients who are actually going to do the work and get results, so they can go out into the world and make the change that they want to make happen because of the results that you were able to give them in this one area of their life. And it's going to have a ripple effect to everything else. Legacy wealth, you're able to then, give back and send down the ladder to the generations to come. And that's an incredible thing for you to know and have the peace of mind that you're doing this to set up your family for success. So legacy is truly across the board. I don't know if I've ever spoken to someone where it's been more prevalent in their journey than in yours. And so I appreciate you sharing so candidly and so openly, because it's really quite incredible what you've been through, where you've been and where you are now. And it's why we do what we do. I say this a lot, but I'm like, your story is why we do what we do. Me doing the work that I do and doing it for as long as I have, people often ask me, don't you get sick of talking about this? And I'm like, how could I? How could I? How could I, when this is what happens? It doesn't, I'm like, somebody pinch me because it doesn't feel like real life. And I think a big takeaway for everyone here is, if you're watching this right now, if you're wondering, how you could do this and how you could make a business that could really stand the test of time, it really comes down to something that I'm sure you've witnessed here today from Denver, and I hope that you've seen in me. You really have to love it. You really have to love getting people results. You really have to be lit up by making a difference in people's lives. So I just want to thank you for your time. And before we wrap up, there are a few questions, so I do want to get to those. But before we wrap up, I'm so curious as to what your answer is going to be to this, but I ask everybody this. There's people sitting here right now who have been on the fence for a while, or maybe today, and they're like, I know I want to do something like this. And I also know there's people who are like, is Sunny real? Is this real? I'm a real person.
It's real.
I'm a real human. I am real. I know it's the internet, but I am real. And I've been doing this a long time, and I wouldn't be able to do this for a long time if it wasn't something that actually worked. So I'm curious for you, for the people that are sitting here kind of on the fence and wondering if they want to take the next step and be part of this program, or apply to be a part of this program, because we don't accept everybody. What would you say to them? What would you say to the people sitting on the fence?
I think I'm just going to paraphrase what I felt like God told me. You're done working for money. So what I mean by that is, this is something I like to say a lot. I really truly believe that God doesn't necessarily always call the qualified, but I think he absolutely qualifies the called. And at least that's what happened for me. So what was intended for my harm was a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, a medical diagnosis that stole my family, my health, and my wealth. instead of me being a victim for that, I became an overcomer. So I think a lot of times if maybe you're on the fence about what is your calling, you're just on fire, there's this passion, you're supposed to be something, there's got to be more to life than this, there's something in there. But I was kind of like maybe where okay, maybe I don't know how to run the best marriage. Maybe my marriage it could be a little bit better. Okay. But the point is that my program, what I did know is that I was facing another divorce and that I figured out how to reattract my wife back. And now we have a good marriage. So I was an expert on how do I go from separated with a divorce filed to at least living back in the same household so we can work on having a good marriage. So that's not from A necessarily to Z. That was just from A to B. But I was qualified by walking through the hell that I went through to figure that out. And so now that's what I teach. So I would say, ask yourself, what is it maybe that's in your past where you have at least taken one step forward? You are officially been qualified to help other people take that first step. And a lot of times you might think, well, it's embarrassing. I don't want to share that. Or, nobody really is interested in that story. The world is desperate for your story. If you've had a pain point and you figured out how to get yourself out of that pain point, other people are desperate to be served to understand how do we take that step too. And it's something that's valuable to them. And every day when I log on my clients only, like my clients only social media group, where it's a private members only group, and I see, so it's a 7-week transformation program. And every time I have a group of people, a group of men that are about to be at 7 weeks, my wife and I log on. And you know how encouraging it is for us to see my clients posting a picture where they have like 4 kids and they're all happily ever after at the park or Disney World or whatever it is, when I know that there was a divorce filed and that everybody was going to go through at least a couple of years of hell on earth trying to figure out how to navigate if they continued that direction. Do you know how encouraging it is for me when I finally let go of the story? Maybe I'm not like the marriage expert within the context of marriage, and I'm pretty good at that, and I continue studying that every day. But I absolutely knew how to go from first step to second step, and it's changing people's lives. I don't have to know every detail about marriage in general. I just needed to know how to take this crucial step that people are desperate for help with somebody that's been through that. So if your story isn't marriage and restoration, where is it that you can relate to? What step did I just take one step and stop holding on to the story that, oh, I've got to, nobody wants to hear that, or it's not going to be helpful, or nobody's willing to pay for that. I thought nobody would pay for that. And now I'm about to hit 8 figures in my business, and I'm not even running a business that I intended to profit from because I truly don't think about money. Like my wife and I, like we logged on and I had to do a bill pay the other day. I sent my daughter-in-law, I started sending her $700 a month to help with daycare because it's like freaking outrageous.
Astronomical, so, yes.
So I said, okay, I'll try to help you with half of that because I can afford to do that. And it feels really, really good. But I went, in order to do bill pay, I had to log on to my checking account balance. My wife was sitting beside me, and because we don't really pay attention because we haven't really changed our lifestyle besides turning the air conditioner on. And our groceries are a little bit more extravagant than they were before. And we go out to eat a couple of times. So that's something we didn't do for like about 2 years. We didn't go out to eat at all. But I logged on to send her that bill pay, and we looked at our checking account balance, and we were like, holy shit, like, can you believe how much money is in here? Like, and so we got to figure out. So now, like, we're looking for ways to invest that. And that's what I said. And so it took me about 2 years to really understand what God meant. When he told me, when I stand for the United Nations, he said, you're done working for money. And we said, that's what we are. This is not working for money. I do not work for money. But guess what? I truly believe I am working for my Creator because I'm stepped into my calling. I'm serving people in building a legacy in their lives. While at the same time, I'm being rewarded with a legacy of building wealth for my family to take care of my children, my grandchildren, maybe my great-grandchildren. But not only am I not working for money, because of the frameworks that you've taught me in the program, I now have positioned my life so that literally I'm money's master. It works for me. My money makes me more money because I'm not working for it anymore, because that's not my value system.
Talk about a full circle.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for that. I mean, that was really a better answer than I could have expected. So thank you so, so much.
My pleasure.
I want to answer just a few quick questions before we do wrap up here real quick. Amanda asked, when we were talking about the YouTube videos, she asked, how much time do those videos last and how many of them are there? I mean, at the time that you were generating, you had the 96 subscribers. How many
Yep.
videos do you know you had? Like, how many videos did you have on the channel?
Yeah, whenever I had the 96 subscribers, we had 12 videos.
12 videos, and those videos last forever. That's the point of YouTube. So the way that we teach it is that they're going to last forever, and they're going to continue to bring in evergreen traffic. That's the great and beautiful thing about YouTube, is that it's an evergreen lead machine for your business. Terrell said, I hope I'm saying your name right. Terrell Renee said, you talk about marketing. Most coaches are saying people are not finishing courses. I'm not most coaches, and I don't know who's saying that, but it is true. Like, some people don't finish courses, but that's also why we provide lifetime access, because we're a no excuse kind of business. If you give lifetime access to a program and you're choosing not to do the work, that's a you problem. So we're giving you everything you need to succeed, and we don't really accept people who aren't going to come in and take it seriously and do the work. And that's why it's an application only program. There's a lot of courses out there where anybody can buy it. We've chosen not to take that route for the last almost 6 years now, because we want people who are committed and who are going to do the work. And maybe you can't do it right away. Maybe you can, maybe you're going to do it 6 months from now, but you have everything you need to be able to do it when you're ready to do the work. And I don't know what you mean when you say, can you talk about marketing? But if you want to clarify, you're more than welcome to. I wanted to, Amanda, getting into the weeds here, but I will answer it. Can you ask him how long his videos? If we did that, can we make 5-minute videos every day with a free masterclass to concert and take emails and have results fast? I don't have the answer to that question because I need more context there. So I'm going to leave that one. But if you do want to get a good idea of how to really take this concept, or maybe you have a course, but it's not working the way that you want it to, there's probably some key reasons as to why that is. Most of the time it's hidden in the ideal client and getting clarity on that. So you can book a free course consultation. Like I said, it is not a sales call. It's literally just set up to better understand where you're currently at, where you want to go, and how we can best support you in that journey. So you can go to signinglittereasy.com/learn more. I'll put the link again into the chat. Thank you everyone for being here. I know that quite a few of you weren't able to be here right at the beginning, but if you can, please watch the replay of this, because the story is incredible. So thank you, Denver. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your time with us, your precious, precious time. Couldn't be happier for you, and can't wait to see where we are 12 months from now.
My pleasure. Truly an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Denver. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.